Hello, friends, and welcome back to Malicious Compliance Stories. The joys of working in customer service, where every call is an adventure. Our OP story takes the cake. Entitled lady must have thought he was a teleporting superhero with a magical phone. Can't you just run over there? Classic. But before we begin, best way to support our channel is to leave comments, like, and subscribe with the turned on bell so you don't miss the new video every single day. Here we go. Entitled lady thinks gas station employee can teleport to McDonald's for her order. This was quite a while ago, over a year at least. I don't remember exactly, but I still think about it from time to time, wondering on what planet this lady must have come from to think a request such as hers was even remotely reasonable. Especially since, as far as I'm aware, other than the mobile app, McDonald's doesn't even do phone orders. I work at a gas station in a small town. Although the town is small, a major highway cuts through it, and the gas station where I work is often fairly busy. We're actually busy enough to justify having 2 workers, but the owners disagree and figure the gas station itself is small enough one worker should be able to handle things fine on their own. Yes, I have some stories that alone prove the owners have clearly never had to work under the conditions they expect us to, but those are for another day. My point is that the cashier on duty for that shift is the only person working there at that time, unless they're training someone, and trainees are given exactly 2 days of training before getting thrown into the deep end because, God forbid, the owners have to pay 2 people to work at the same time. Never mind, it gets busy enough to have lines snake around the whole building quite often. I should also mention our number is similar to a few other places, including some that are actually in the next town over, so when we answer the phone, we answer with, "Hello, you've reached name of town, name of gas station." The idea being, upon hearing this, any misdials will realize immediately they have the wrong number and prevent conversations like the following. Obviously didn't work in this case. It's a typical day at work, and I had just finished helping a customer. It was a rare, blissfully slow day, so far, so there was only one other customer in the store at the time who was busy perusing the drink selection we had when the store phone rang. Normally, our policy is customers in-store get priority over phone calls, but as the only customer in the store wasn't actually ready to check out yet, I went ahead and answered it. This is the conversation that ensued. Me will be me, obviously, and EL will be entitled lady. Me: "Hello, you've reached name of city, name of store, how may I help you?" EL: "Yeah, I want to call ahead my order so y'all will have it ready when I get there. I want a McDouble and a large fry with..." Me cuts the lady off. "Ma'am, I'm sorry, but this is a gas station, not McDonald's." EL: "This isn't McDonald's?" Me: "No, ma'am, it's a gas station." EL: "Are you sure?" Me glances at the gas pumps outside thinking, WTF. "Yes, ma'am, I'm sure." EL: "Well, I called because I want my order ready when I get there." Me: "Oh, well, then you need to call McDonald's." EL: "Can you just run over there and hand your phone to them?" At this point, I should mention the store phone is obviously a landline phone. I mean, yeah, it's cordless, but it has a limited range on how far you can take it from the base before it stops working, so not only is this request ridiculous, it's also literally impossible. Me: "I'm sorry, ma'am, but I can't do that." EL: "What do you mean you can't do that? Why not? This is terrible customer service." By now, the in-store customer's ready at the counter, and as the person on the phone is actually not even wanting us, it was time to cut this off, and while admittedly probably wasn't the right way to handle things, but I needed her off the phone so I could help my actual customer. I completely dropped my polite retail persona and decided to be absolutely blunt. "Look, lady, I cannot leave my workplace while I'm working. I have my own customers to help. The phone we're speaking on is a landline, as are most business phones, and even if I wanted to help you, it doesn't have the range to go that far. As for customer service, you are not my customer. You're a McDonald's customer, and it's actually not my job to help you order your McDonald's. Have a great day." The last part said in a sing-song, overly sweet, semi-sarcastic tone that I generally reserve for Karens. I hung up without even giving her a chance to respond, then helped my actual customer. She never called back, and I never got in any trouble, and I honestly have no idea if she ever did get her McDonald's. Here's to hoping your next call was from someone who understood the concept of a gas station answering its own phone. And our second story. Want my territory? Now your huge house is mine. To set the stage, many decades ago, Barney and Betty immigrated from Europe and bought a farm. A few years later, they had kids and sponsored Wilma from the old country as a nanny. She met Fred, a local boy, fell in love, and got married. Wilma stayed on as the nanny, and Fred worked as a farmhand. Their kids and Barney and Betty's kids grew up together. It was pretty much a big blended family. Years go by, and Barney and Betty decide to sell the farm fields to Farmer Frank, but kept the land the house was on. They made enough off the sale to build a nice new house and rezone the property lines. They broke the lot up into 2 parcels, one for the new house and one for the existing house, which they gifted to Fred and Wilma as recognition of their years of dedicated and loving service. Both houses shared a well and septic field. More time went by, Barney and Betty passed away, and their house was inherited by their son, Gabe. Fred also passed away, and Wilma stayed in the house. She was an angel. Everyone in the town knew and loved her. She was like the town's grandmother. She was active in the church and liked nothing more than crocheting booties for anyone in town that had a baby. Sadly, Wilma passed away too, and her house was inherited by her daughter, Pebbles. She was well established in a nearby metropolitan city and made the decision to sell the house. And so it begins. The parcel for sale is the solid bit, which backs onto protected parkland and is bordered by Gabe's land and Farmer Frank's fields. It was purchased by a builder from the city, which we'll call Dick. The name suits him. He wanted it as a country getaway, as he already had a place in the city. He got approval to improve the place, and his plans were to convert the barn into a multi-car garage with a man cave and an apartment in what was the loft. He started by tearing down the house with plans to replace it with a bigger, more modern house. The house was torn down and the new build was started. The lower part of Gabe's territory represents a very narrow driveway. Between that driveway and Farmer Frank's field was a drainage culvert. So the contractors started parking their vehicles on Gabe's lot. Gabe asked the contractors not to do it, but they didn't stop, so he approached Dick, and the conversation didn't go well. Dick was an entitled big shot, dealing with what he thought was a country bumpkin. To give you an idea, Dick once went to the local diner and asked for the wine list. He was aggressive and disrespectful, and this pretty much set the tone for all future interactions. Gabe had enough. These contractor trucks were tearing up his ground, so one weekend he built a fence along the border between his house and Dick's. It wasn't a complicated fence. He just got a buddy with a post hole digger on his Bobcat, sunk posts and strung planks between them. This caused no end of trouble with the build. There was no room to park for the contractors without getting in each other's way, and they couldn't park in the driveway, which was only wide enough for one vehicle at a time. Contractors were pissed off. They had a long walk from the road to the build site and had to carry tools and equipment back and forth. Either that or take turns dropping materials, waiting hours for the carpenters to finish unloading the lumber so that the plumbers could unload the pipes. Dick was furious and came stomping over to Gabe, demanding that he dismantle the fence. Gabe told him to go to hell. Then a day later, Gabe saw that someone had removed some of the fence and the contractor trucks were back on his land. Okay, thought Gabe, let's play. The following weekend, Gabe irrigated the area where the contractors were parking, irrigated it long and continuously. He probably had to get a water delivery to make it happen, as the well had a limited capacity. On Monday, the first contractor to arrive turned off Dick's driveway to go through the fence and immediately sank up to his axles in mud. Did I mention that Gabe owned the local service station and knew every tow truck company within 100 miles? As it turned out, everyone they called was too busy to pull the truck out, and they had to call a tow truck from the city, almost 2 hours away. You can see how the relationship between Gabe and Dick became somewhat less than neighborly. Time went by, Dick's house was completed. It was a low-maintenance setup with interlocking brick over the compound, tall hedges separating Dick from Gabe. They kept out of each other's way, but they certainly weren't pals. Dick's kids would come up on the weekend and have a party now and then, but Gabe put up with it. One issue that arose was when Dick decided to fill the small swimming pool that he'd installed. This drew the well dry and caused some sand to be pulled into the water treatment equipment. When Gabe approached Dick about the cost of the repair via email, Dick basically replied that it was Gabe's problem. The same when the septic holding tank needed to be pumped. Gabe offered to split the cost of the pumping, and Dick refused to part with a dime. Years passed, and Dick decided to list the house for sale. That's when Gabe made his move. He cut the water and capped the septic line leading from Dick's house. Then he informed the real estate agent of what he'd done. Well, that induced a thunderstorm for sure. There's no way Dick could sell a house that had no water or any way to dispose of waste. He couldn't build a septic field on his property. It was too small. He approached Farmer Frank to buy some of his land, but was rebuffed. His only option would have been to install a septic holding tank, but the only place to put it would have been right in the middle of his compound, and septic tanks can be aromatic. It would also have meant removing the in-ground pool. Dick tried to argue in court that he was entitled to access to the well water and the septic field, but Gabe won, arguing that Fred and Wilma were given water and septic as a courtesy and that there was no contractual obligation to provide Dick either well water or septic access. There was nothing in the deed to Wilma and Fred that could be grandfathered in, and Dick's emails refusing to pay for maintenance to either system was the nail in the coffin. The property sat vacant and unusable for months. The price dropped through the floor, and the few people that expressed an interest in the property approached Gabe with varying offers of cash to restore service. Gabe declined. No offers were made to Dick for the house. Finally, Dick did receive an offer from a numbered corporation, an offer that was about a quarter of the asking price, as is, with a statement that the buyer was aware that there was no water or septic service to the property. Without much choice, Dick accepted the offer. And that's how Gabe bought himself a beautiful modern country home at a steal of a price. He reattached the water and septic in the afternoon and moved his furniture down the driveway. He rented his old house out for extra money and had the numbered company negotiate with himself for an arrangement for perpetual use of well and septic, thereby jacking the value of the house by a factor of 4. Later, if he decides to sell it, he'll be making a massive profit. Gabe now enjoys a country paradise and is the social king of the hill in his town. All because Dick decided to be a dick. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.